What's going on YouTube? JT is Reborn here, and welcome back to another edition of my Monarch Legacy of Monsters reviews. And in this video, we're going to be talking about Episode 9, known as Access Monday. This one is written by Matt Fraction and directed by Andy Goddard. This is the penultimate episode of Season 1. They haven't officially announced Season 2, so, I mean, it could be the second to last episode. I don't exactly know, but given that it's consistently ranking as Apple TV's highest show, I assume they're probably going to do a second season. But let's go ahead and talk about this one. This is the episode that I feel like changes everything in terms of the Monsterverse and opens up a whole new can of worms and possibilities and to places I never really would have expected the Monsterverse to kind of go, given the previous lore that's been established. This one changes things quite a bit. Like, this is quite crazy with the stuff that happens in it. Even the title of the episode kind of reveals that. We don't visit the Hollow Earth in this. We are introduced to a whole new world in general. This new world, it's not the Hollow Earth that we know in Godzilla vs. Kong. This is a world between worlds, if you will. It's known as the Access Monday. Now, what the Access Monday is, it's basically a realm between realms. And this episode goes full interstellar with the various time dilations given the area that they're at. This also goes to explain why Shaw looks the way he does. It's not necessarily that it prolonged his aging. It's that he had kind of the interstellar effect where he, in his pocket of time, he was spent a week in this Access Monday plane. But in reality, 20 years had passed in the surface world, given how time that works. Not sure how the science and all of that is, but it's just some crazy, wacky science in that, but basically, like, 1 week for him was 20 years someplace else, so it's kind of like Interstellar, the way time works in different areas and stuff. So I thought that was a crazy reveal. I kind of expected Hollow Earth energy to prolong his aging. That was initially my theory, but going into this thing and seeing this example, this kind of changes things, like, so much with all the unique possibilities they can now do. It also goes on to explain why they were able to survive going through these rifts from the surface world into the in-between worlds, because in Godzilla vs. Kong, it was very clearly established that they needed the Hollow Earth aerial vehicles, or the Heaves, to make it down to the main Hollow Earth, and time functions basically the same way within the Hollow Earth as it does on the surface world, if you will. But in the Access Monday, things are a little bit different in terms of gravity and all the portals and stuff, and a human can seemingly survive going through one of these rifts, as opposed to what we saw in Godzilla vs. Kong, where the gravity would just implode them, if you will. So I'm going to go ahead and summarize things. And also, Sean was right about one thing after kind of talking about it, and I think it was the last video, one of my theories about Keiko being potentially alive actually came to be true. So let's go ahead and get into discussing this thing. This kind of jumps around at different time periods. So I'm going to summarize the episode, give my overall final thoughts, and my excitement for the final episode, if you will. So the episode opens up in a Monarch test site in Kansas in 1962, known as Operation Hourglass. We see Bill taking care of Hiroshi. Shaw is his Uncle Lee. We can see a little bit of the bond and how they took over caring for this kid after his mom seemingly died. Shaw then leaves him his lucky pocket knife, and then they put together an expedition to go into what they think is Hollow Earth, if you will. So they're going to use a Titan as bait to kind of piggyback off it and head into what they think is Hollow Earth. Given the rift is unstable, the Titan's able to kind of stabilize it, and they're able to piggyback off it. So they lure it with baits, and then they drop in. And also, it's kind of the last time Lee and Shaw are ever going to see each other, and it's kind of a shame. I really like the dynamic between these two and really grew to care about their friendship over the course of the show. However, things start to go wrong during the mission with the rift. Bill gets hit in the face with some sort of energy surge, which I assume is what's going to age him, because in 11 years, he's supposed to go from this to John Goodman in Skull Island, where he ages substantially. So I'm going to assume that this energy surge is what causes him to rapidly age over the course of a decade, or just the simple fact of being a single father ages him. It's just kind of a funnier explanation, but that happens, and the operation goes wrong. Shaw is seemingly gone, and then afterwards, Bill Randa has a scene with Puckett, where Puckett tells him, due to the loss of life in Operation Hourglass, that funding to Project Monarch is set to be cut entirely. Puckett is clearly sorry for what happened. He mentions older men declare war, but his youth that must fight and die. I actually like how they humanize Puckett here. And he tells him that given Hiroshi lost his mom and his uncle, Bill Randa's focus should be on raising that child. Don't put him through any more of this hardship, as opposed to going down this path of obsession, with you will. But given what happened to Keiko And Bill he can't let it go. And it's kind of sad, given all the stuff that transpires with him. I'm almost bummed now that John Goodman's character died in Kong Skull Island, because they did a really good job fleshing out the younger version of himself. I hope maybe there's some potential way they can work around the continuity to somehow make him alive. I mean, there's been some sort of retcons in this show anyways. For instance, they didn't really call the Titans up until King of the Monsters. Well, that one you can kind of work around, but also during the Bikini Atoll tests, Godzilla stands up, whereas in the 2014 footage, they just kind of blow it up before he gets fully out of the water. So maybe there could be some way to work around the John Goodman Skull Island thing, but I'm not going to hold my breath. But it would be kind of cool. So we only got one episode left in this series. Also, please don't kill Lee Shaw. That's one of my other big things. So then we cut to a hospital where we see Shaw wakes up in a medical facility of sorts, and he holds a nurse hostage, asking for Bill Randa. He's a little disoriented. This nurse, in fact, turns out to be Emiko and end up being Kentaro's mom. Hiroshi intervenes and stops him. And of course, we get the reveal that is, in fact, 1982 and that Bill Randa has been killed. So the episode, like I said, went full interstellar here with the whole time dilation aspect. Hiroshi then goes on to talk to Shaw, who tells him what happened. His team was killed by the elements and the Ion Dragon, which we saw attack the Lawton back in the day. Shaw then got sucked into a wormhole and ended up back in the surface world years later. Shaw pleads with Hiroshi that his dad was right about everything, that they need to work together to figure this stuff out. However, Hiroshi tells him that Monarch will remain benevolent and that Shaw is being put somewhere for observation, where he will spend the remainder of his years at. So then Shaw ends up in this retirement home, which we saw earlier on in the season, and he looks out and he's kind of out of it until he sees the Honolulu attacks that took place, and then he kind of wakes back up, if you will. It kind of reminds me a little bit of the Dark Knight Returns animated movies, where the Joker's kind of out of it until he sees Batman, and then he kind of reactivates, if you will. So I feel really bad for this guy. He lost so much of his time. Hiroshi grew a little bit of resentment towards him, given what happened. I mean, he's glad to see that he's alive, but at the same time, he doesn't really want to spend as much time with him. He doesn't try to help get him out of there. He's just kind of kept for observation, kind of left to die in a peaceful retirement home, if you will. So it also goes to explain why Hiroshi was a little bit cold towards everyone. He grew up, given his dad grew obsessive over this stuff, and he lost his family, and he's a kid who just was continuously orphaned, and that kind of set the stage for him being as emotionally distraught as he was. I mean, his Uncle Lee was gone, his dad was gone, his biological father was gone, his mom was gone. This guy's been through a lot, but it still doesn't make way for some of the stuff that he did. He did seem kind of jerky by just leaving his uncle there, given that things went wrong with his mission, if you will. So anyways, after that stuff, in 2015, Kentaro wakes up in a hospital with Tim and Verdugo there. They basically tell him all that everyone kind of died. Emiko returns, having not been seen in a while. Seemingly everything is done for them. Kentaro was clearly distraught, wondering when they got to go looking for the other members of his team, if you will, but is told everything is done and that the only thing he can do for them now is live. I also liked how he called them his family, showing that he has grown to care for them. After talking with his mom, he decides to figure things out on his own. He's not just, given Monarch's not going to aid him in this stuff, he's going to figure things out on himself. So he's taking action on his own because he can't rely on anybody. So while this is going on, Shaw wakes up in the new realm known as the Access Monday, a world between worlds, if you will. He finds May down there and reveals to her that he once was down here before and explains his age to her. Kentaro, meanwhile, goes to his dad's office. And then the part that just maybe just scratched my head and questioned so many things, Hiroshi just casually walks in like it's no big deal. The first time I watched this, I couldn't believe it. I was kind of disappointed. This guy just comes across as such an asshole. He just walks in like his son and his daughter have been looking for them. They think he's dead, but he just kind of walks in like, oh, hey, what's up, guys? It kind of reminds me a little bit of the episode of Seinfeld where Costanza had quit his job and then just casually walks back in like it's no big deal, like he never quit. That's the vibe I'm kind of getting here. It bothered me the first time I saw it. Now I've kind of gotten used to it after watching the episode again and letting it settle for me. But the fact that this guy just casually walks in like it's no big deal, like his kids were out there in the desert, didn't seem to care for their safety whatsoever. He comes across as a real asshole to me. And Kentaro rightfully snaps at his dad, given that he's lied to them his whole life, basically, after what he put him and Kate through and all this stuff, and he blames him for Kate's death, if you will. Hiroshi has a breakdown in front of him, and the acting is pretty good here, but Hiroshi is just made out to be a real jerk, if you will. Now, there is some sympathy for some of the stuff that he went through, but the fact that he never told his kids that he was alive this whole time makes him out to be a real asshole, if you will. And Kentaro rightfully snaps at this guy. So Kentaro is actually growing to be probably my favorite of the new, like, modern day leads. I mean, Shaw is still the best. And I'm also kind of growing to like Tim a little bit too. But out of the three new characters like Kate, May, and Kentaro's clearly the best, I think, of the bunch because, yeah, he's been through some stuff, but he's still kind of fighting onward, if you will. Anyways, then we get the ending of the episode where Kate wakes up in the Access Monday, where she is then attacked by a bramble boar, and before thing can kind of latch on and kind of kill her, she is saved by none other than Keiko, and we end the episode there. So yes, Keiko is alive, seemingly not really aged at all. Who knows how long in terms of her time down there it's been, maybe a few months if you will, because Shaw was down there for basically a week before he went back to the surface world, but Keiko has been trapped down here maybe a few months because there was a good 50-year time gap, I feel, since she was brought down there, if you will. So many questions, so much excitement. I'm glad she's back. It's kind of something I was predicting based on them going in this riff. I'm wondering, okay, maybe she should be alive here. I was thinking the Hollow Earth energy is what kept them youthful, if you will, kind of like a fountain of youth. But the reveal that it's time dilation really kind of changes things. I would not have expected it, but it's also raising a bunch of questions. Given we have the world between worlds, and if you go back to Godzilla vs. Kong, where he just drills a hole to the center of the earth, just right in the middle of all these crazy rifts, if you will, like what are the consequences of that going to be? I don't exactly know. It's pretty wacky, it's pretty crazy, but I am excited to see where the next episode takes us. So the idea of the Access Monday, I think, is really cool. I didn't expect us to get a new world between world with these things, and there's so many possibilities. For instance, characters maybe we've seen in the past that we thought were dead could come back in some ways. Are they going to integrate some sort of time travel, or is it just going to be pure time dilation? There's a lot of possibilities you can go with in this direction with the whole Access Monday angle, and maybe at the end of the next episode, they end up 5 years later at the events of King of the Monsters, perhaps. I don't exactly know. I just know I'm really excited to see where the show kind of takes things from here, because introducing this whole new world between worlds, the Access Monday, I think adds a whole new excitement to the Monsterverse. It leaves some questions for sure, and it also goes to explain how they were able to kind of survive the portals, if you will, instead of needing the heave vehicles, because it's not quite the Hollow Earth they travel to, it's the Access Monday. So I'm excited to see where the final episode goes. I know Godzilla is going to fight the Iron Dragon. We've seen that in some teaser footage, if you will. Hopefully it's a good, decent amount of time fighting. Now, it doesn't need to be like a 10, 15-minute battle. I need at least 5 minutes of monster fighting in the finale or something like that. I don't want it to be super quick and abrupt. You've kind of teased things a bit. Let's see Godzilla kick some ass. And I'm excited to see where the season finale ends, because I'm sure it's going to be some sort of crazy, wacky cliffhanger. Maybe some other characters we thought were dead will come back. I don't exactly know, but we got 1 week, and we get the finale of Monarch. Then we take a few-month break between Monsterverse stuff, unless you count the Justice League vs. Godzilla vs. Kong comics, and then we jump right back into Godzilla x Kong, The New Empire. So I'm excited to see where we go from here, and I'm really looking forward to the reunion between Keiko and Shaw, and when she finds out that Billy is dead, and maybe her son's alive and dead or something like that. I'm excited about that. I mean, I'm ready for the next episode. Give it to me now. That's my mindset with this thing. But anyways, what did you think of Monarch Legacy of Monsters episode 9? What do you think of the whole Access Monday angle with the whole in-between worlds with the surface world and the Hollow Earth? Do you think this is a good idea? Do you think it just overly complicates and makes things way too crazy and sci-fi wackiness? I don't know. You just let me know. Now that we have this here, who's to say we can't get alien invasions at some point soon in the series? So many questions. Has me excited. Can't wait to see the finale. And I'm wondering where everything will go from there. But anyways, that's all I have to say. As always, be sure to like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the YouTube channel for more content, hit that bell for notifications. We got one more episode left to cover for Monarch Legacy of Monsters, and then that's that. I don't know what I'll do after that. Maybe I can go back and try and do detailed episode breakdowns for the entirety of the Skull Island anime series, since I just did kind of a spoiler discussion on the whole season because it was dropped all at once. Just for something. I'm on a Monsterverse kick right now. I want to start diving into these things a little bit more. I'm excited. I can't wait for the New Empire, and I can't wait for the Monarch finale. It's been fun to watch a show weekly for once. And yeah, it would be cool to kind of watch it all at once as opposed to impatiently waiting, but the speculation has kind of made it a little bit more fun for me in a way. So, alright, well, I've rambled on long enough. As always, take care now. Bye-bye then, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace out.